Good day to everybody. This is Rob Mazak coming to you with my podcasts. And most of the time, I do non scripted podcasts. Take an idea and let it roll. And it usually is related around metaphysical and spiritual topics. But tonight, or on this podcast rather, doing something a little different. I have a colleague that I've been working with for quite some time, started as a client. Now we kind of bounce things off each other. She's a psychic medium just like myself, among other things which you'll hear in the podcast. It's always been a interest of ours to do a podcast together because she has a lot to say and she's very, very talented, very intuitive. And when we have issues with things we're trying to discover psychically or through mediumship or intuitively, however you want to look at that. So we tend to bounce things off each other to see if perhaps we're tracking. Although when you're really good at doing these things, you don't really need validation. But it doesn't hurt because we're human beings. And so that's the kind of thing that we do together. And so this is a podcast with a pseudonym for this young lady, not as young as she used to be, of course, but still young in spirit. But we were calling her Maria. Her real name is something else, and she wants to be incognito, as you'll see towards the end of this podcast. She just got overwhelmed and bowled over with so many readings and so many people reaching out to her and so many animals. She was working with animals would pop in and wouldn't leave her alone. So she had to kind of hang up the hat on that. She still does the work. She does it in a different way, which she talks about in this podcast. But at the end of the podcast, I will leave my contact information like I usually do. And if you're interested in working with her, I will pass your information on to her. And it is really nice to be able to compare ideas between intuitives because everybody does things a little bit different. Everybody receives things a little bit different. Everybody just has a different way about getting the information. One way is not right or wrong, but it is really cool to kind of compare. And some of the ideas that she talked about, I didn't know. So I also learned some things about her this time and maybe some things I'll use in my own practice. So we will go ahead and share this podcast. Enjoy. We'll see you at the end of the podcast. I wanted to start with a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously we met two and a half years ago now, I guess, at the other store.
Yes.
It's been a while. It was kind of a chance meeting, and we've done many different readings together and sessions together. Now we're more cohorts bouncing things off of each other, and which is a much better deal because even though we are very intuitive, validation is still important occasionally. So hearing it from
Mm,
somebody else is kind of nice, right?
yes. It's thrilling. It's exciting. Because you think you're nuts.
Right.
and and people say that. So when somebody says, "Oh yes, I see that or I do that or what," it's just a thrill for me. It's an absolute thrill.
Absolutely. And so, Maria, you are very good and awesome, talented, intuitive, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast with you because it's always, I mean, everybody has their own style. My
Yes.
style is not your style, and it shouldn't be. And it's nice to hear how other people view things and how they do things. And it also helps everybody learn because that's for me, most of my gifts and processes I use are pieces and parts of lots of people I've worked with and gotten readings from. So anyway, I wanted to just have you talk a little bit about briefly about your background, and then we'll go into some questions, and then we'll just see where it takes us. Yeah.
Okay. Background. I'm from the Northeast. I was born an anxious person. I knew from a very early age that I was not the same. My social anxiety was ridiculous. and I didn't understand what was going on. All these, feelings that I really didn't know were mine. Very difficult for me to like go to dinner and be in a restaurant with all those people, and it just freaked me out because I was reading the entire room. I didn't understand that, but I was feeling everybody.
Oh, right. Sure.
And it used to give me the most horrible headache. It was very difficult for me to be in a social environment without being negatively affected. And then I would just get these weird feelings about certain people. And nobody else seemed to have those feelings. It was like I saw something in the person that nobody else saw. So I was like, well, I must be wrong. I must be, and I mean, I'm a kid. So what are you going to say to
Right.
yourself? It's my fault. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm seeing I'm crazy. I'm this, I'm that, and the other thing.
Your parents probably didn't help with that either, I'm sure.
It was never discussed in our house. Never. Like ever. We never used a Ouija board. We never did seances. We never did nothing like that. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't curious, I was, but we didn't have social media. We just had what was available, in the 60s and 70s, and it just wasn't there. I knew about the Warrens because they had come to where I lived and did a seminar, and I wanted to go. But I was only like 8 or 9, 10 maybe. So there's like, well, I'm not asking my mother to take me to that.
Yeah,
um,
not gonna go well.
yeah. So, this is like I'm like 10 now. So well into my teenage years and like starting in my 20s, I started just a very small amount of experimentation.
Hmm.
And then life just got in the way. I had to put my head down. I had to work. I had to support. I had to, so all of that sort of got pushed away. And I suffered from migraines for years. And I guarantee you it was about that, not understanding those feelings, not being able to let them go. And they build up, and it just, my brain just can't take it. So fast forward to I'm now, let's see, how old am I? I'm like 40 years old. And I started making beaded jewelry with real gemstones. And then I started getting into the mythical properties of gemstones. I ended up meeting a Wiccan who became a very, very good friend of mine. And she just opened me up. She started talking to me. She started telling, she was very open. She's telling me, like, there's something going on with you. You need to explore this, la, 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 la. And I did that mainly through meditation and just listening. You just have to listen. You have to be silent and just listen.
Isn't that the struggle though, really?
It's a struggle for everybody because human beings have so much junk in their heads.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God.
there's so much preconceived ideas, religious ideas. They don't know what it is, so they don't like it. There's fear, there's, whatever the case may be. You have to be able to push all that aside, quiet yourself, and listen. Because I'm telling you, it will come. One of my first really profound experiences was there is another friend of mine who was also a Wiccan, but she cleaned my house for me. So she went down to the basement to put some laundry in. In my ear, as though the person were sitting right next to me, I heard somebody singing, "My country 'tis of thee," and
Christina?
yeah, "My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty." I heard that, and it was a weird voice. But then I had a vision of being in a classroom, blackboard, flag, teachers, the whole classroom, and they were all singing. And then the kid said, I'm Anne's person. I'm Annie's person. And it was my friend who was downstairs.
Uh,
So I said, Anne, get up here now. Come up now. I've got something. And so it turns out that this kid choked on a pen cap and died in the classroom.
oh my.
And the reason that was why his voice sounded so weird, because the pen cap was stuck in there.
A little squeaky, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, no, it was like somebody was trying to talk with marbles. It was like the Godfather, you know, you mumbling and a deeper voice than the kid should have. But I mean, it freaked me out because I swear to you, I could feel the breath
Wow. That's a good
of
one.
the speaking. Right, that did me in. I was like, okay, I need to do I need to do something about this. I need to figure this out.
Well, yeah.
And there we go. And then I just went with it. I just went with it. Every time I went, oh, and the friend that opened me up was also a manicure. So every time I went to an appointment, I was reading her clients. I was reading people walking in the door. The landlord came one day. I was on the phone. The landlord comes into the shop one day and I said, who's the lady? Who's the lady? There's a lady there and she's up in the ceiling and I could see her head, just her head coming out of the ceiling and looking at the guy. And I said, she's got like Parkinson's or something. I said, I can't even, my hands are shaking so bad. So she talks to the other, she's like, yeah, you're right. She does have Parkinson's. I said, well, she's alive, right? She said, yeah, she's alive. I was like, once again, yeah. So then I began to open my mouth and say things and tell people and work this into something I could deal with and handle and have fun with.
Let me ask you then a caveat on that experience there. So when you connect with entities that are alive versus dead or unalive,
Yeah,
however you want to say that, is there
yeah.
a difference for you, or is there a different feeling, or what? How do you differentiate that, or can you?
Well, that's hard to explain. When I communicate with dead people, I see them just sort of standing and they're a little bit misty, but definitely recognizable.
Okay.
And it's not in a particular place. They're just standing in sort of a misty spot. They're not standing on a floor or anything. There's no building. There's nothing. They're just there. But live people, I see them in what would be a regular situation for a human being. They work. They do this and that and the other thing. That's kind of how I can tell.
Okay. I was just curious because like for me, if they show up in my consciousness on my left side, then they're past, they're unalive. And then if they're on my right, then they would be alive. And so that's how it's kind of worked out for me.
I
That's
have it. I have it the other way around.
oh, do you?
I usually see the dead people to the right of me and back of me. And
Okay.
you're right. The live people, now that you say that, it is the left side. So that's interesting.
Well, sure. It's like learning the language of or the symbology of your gift and then figuring out, right away, I already know this person's not here or that's my impression of it.
Yes.
So I think that does help because, connecting with live people and dead people, is it any different for you? I mean, is the energy different? Does it feel different? How does that work for you?
Well, dead people aren't like, whacked anymore with all kinds of static in their brain. That's my issue with human beings in general, is I have to be able to, and any medium has to, you have to be able to push aside all the static that's going on in their head and get to, who wants to talk and what they want to say. Dead
Oh, sure.
people, dead people don't have all that baggage, or what should I say? Like offense. They don't have that. They're much easier to read because they're willing. I'm asking them to come, but they're coming. And so in my brain, that means if they're here, they're definitely going to have something to say. Whereas a live person, I got to figure it all out.
That 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 is true. That is true. And so,
Right?
right. And so you mentioned that when you ask them to come. So I have a one of the questions I have is, so is this something that happens to you without your trying? Or, it's just like you getting these downloads and these people show up without even asking?
Yes.
And or is it something you can turn off? Is it something that's just there? How does that work for you?
Well, there is a consistent and constant din of noises and talking in my head all the time.
Oh
Most
wow.
of it is just my guides, and I almost wonder, do I have a multiple personality disorder? Because I can hear them talking to each other about me. Like one of them say, "Well, quit bothering her with that. She's trying to do la 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 la."
Okay, so in other
And
words, what you're
like,
saying is,
okay, for example, I'm sorry, just for an example, I'm on Messenger with a paranormal team, and I'll say, "Hey, what you guys got going on today? What's anybody investigating?" And this guy that I've become friends with say, "Oh, I'm doing this and this and this today." And then somebody popped in and said, "Hey, I have this lady who has a haunted house, and she's not sure what's going on, and la 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 la." And I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. You, who was the not James, the other guy, said you, okay." As soon as I read his sentence, it all flooded in. It all just comes in. I can almost feel the way I see it in my head is there's doors. And when I open those doors, that's when I'm open. So I
right.
open those doors, the light pours, always light pours in, and then it gives me a complete, like, panoramic picture of what's going on.
That's really cool. So that's where we definitely are the same. It's like something about somebody saying the words or typing the words, sending a text is something that kind of connects you to that quantum, I don't know, information. It's just,
It's weird. It's
yeah, it's just,
almost like you have a temporary cord connection between the two of you. You know about cords, right?
yes, yeah,
Ropes, cords, whatever you want to call them. It's like you plug in for a minute. It's like an old phone system. You plug in, and then when you're done, you unplug.
yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
I
It's it's
do. That's
it's
it.
over.
That's the way it works for me too.
Yeah.
Usually I have to do mine on purpose. I don't have that dull roar all the time, but that is very much the same as so then is it like my one of my students used to tell me because she used to do get her stuff in little snippets. She's like, you get the benefit of watching the movie, the whole movie. Is that kind of like what it works like for you?
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Sometimes it's like a person has a stack of Polaroid pictures, and
Right.
they just flip them out on the table like they're dealing cards, and all those
Ah,
pictures sort of connect up, and I can look through the picture and go, "Oh, okay, this is how it's going."
right.
It's we it's hard to explain.
Well, so then my next question, or yeah, I guess question is that for myself, it's kind of a mix of things. Sometimes I get a thought transfer, it's words. Other times it's like they're holding up symbols or they're showing me something that I have to try to figure out. It's like
Mm,
it's never the same. So is yours consistent? Is it how would you describe the information flow if you were trying to say it to an average person?
An average person. Okay, say that one more time.
So in other
Um,
words, like for me, I don't so it comes in a variety of ways for myself, for example. Like
oh,
sometimes
it's not always pictures. Sometimes it's this and sometimes it's
sometimes it's
that.
symbology, sometimes they're showing me a scene. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like sometimes they want to give me direct information and other times they're challenging me and the client to figure it out. So
Yes,
how
I
does it
hate
work?
that.
How does it work for you? Is it the same?
I'm losing my train of thought. I don't know why. How does the information come? It comes very quickly. And sometimes I get smells, like I'll smell something.
Oh, I don't get
Um,
that. That's cool.
I get smells. I do hear a lot. A lot of what goes on is what I hear. And
Well,
that's how it started for me was audio. I was hearing things. I never physically see anything. People, I don't know how people can just go around and see ghosts. I can't do it. I see them in my head, but I don't,
exactly,
you
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
that's one thing I can't do. It's frustrating, but
Well,
I can't do it.
I don't know if it's frustrating to me. I think that that's what scares most people off when you see somebody literally sitting in your living room or something. You know, personally, I think it's a more safe space in my head than
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
to wake up in the middle of the night and somebody's standing at the end of your bed. I'm like, yeah, no. I asked for it for a while and I'm like, no, I think I'm good with what I got.
That actually happened to me. That was another really profound experience I had. We were visiting my son. We were down in Louisville and stayed at a hotel. And it was kind of, like when we got to the hotel, I was like, oh, this is a little, hmm, I don't know. It just seemed, of course, every hotel is like this because millions of people, back and forth on those floors and
Sure.
leaving their energy everywhere. But this one felt especially odd, I would say. It had a darker tone to it, but not evil, just more like sad. We go to bed in the middle of the night, woke up and sat straight up in the bed, and I was scared to death. And I see this young man come across the end of the bed, go towards the bathroom, and dissolve into nothing.
Yeah, that's not something I want to have happen to me.
And I said, my husband, there is somebody in this room. There's somebody in this room. He's like, there's nobody here. Well, of course, I get up, I check everywhere. There's nobody there. I was like, oh my God, I just saw a ghost. It was awesome. I was like,
Right.
please come back. I want to talk.
Well, I don't know about you, but if that gift ever shows up for me, I'm going to put a boundary on it, and it's like, it's going to happen during the day. I'm sleeping. Leave me alone at night, so I don't have to
Yeah,
worry.
so you can sleep.
Right, there's that.
No, it was amazing. And of course, I got all the feelings from him. There was something going on in his life, and that boy was pacing that hotel back and forth, the hotel room, back and forth and back and forth. He was in his like underwear and a t-shirt, just pacing. I could literally see him. It
That's
was
crazy.
amazing,
That's crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy because I don't. That may have happened once or twice in my life, but nothing regularly. That's crazy. Quick question then. So, if you were to identify your gifts by name, is there something that you specifically would call yourself? Me personally, I think you're a psychic medium. At the base,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's just a part of it. Yeah, yeah.
right? Well, what other gifts or titles of gifts would you say are part of your repertoire there?
Definitely empathic. I
Okay.
can feel somebody once told me this was a medium. She was really good too. She told me I'm a triple threat.
Ooh, what does that mean?
I'm a hat trick.
Okay.
I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, and an empath. And
Right.
that's all you need.
No, I agree. I agree. There's a lot of fancy names. There's a lot of clairs, like clairvoyant and clairaudient and all this. I'm like, who cares? I mean, I don't know. Some people do, I guess, but you also have discussed with me on many occasions. I've not witnessed it personally or worked with you on it, but connecting with animals, and I think that's a very unique gift because they're like our silent partners where we
Yes,
don't get any validation from them per se to know if we're on track. So how does that work for you? What is that experience like?
I loved every minute of it. Animals, they're so much easier. They don't have baggage. They have no baggage. It's like, yes, they may have had a horrible time, but they're so resilient. They are just like innately empathic. They know who's good and who isn't. I mean, they have that innate ability. It's ingrained in them to know. Do they have control over that? No, because they end up in bad situations, right? But if, like a lot of pets I spoke to were rescues,
Right.
the absolute unbridled joy and love and acceptance that they feel from us as human beings is absolutely incredible. They love their people. If you want to make friends, give them food.
Right.
You know, I mean,
So,
seriously,
so
it
do
just,
you get the sense though that about what many people believe, at least I do, and many that I've talked to, that animals are really, domestic animals anyway, are here to take on our bad energy, to be there for us and to take the brunt of everything. Is that any of that get picked up in your connection with animals?
um, they definitely want to heal their people. They are not attractive or attracted to any amount of sadness or disdain. You know, it's like, oh, they don't have those feelings on a consistent basis. And all you have to do is look into your pet's eyes and you will know. I mean,
Well,
yes, my
the
answer
reason
would be yes, they do.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because what I've discovered, through all my years of doing this is that when you walk into somebody's home and you can usually tell the state of the energetic beings that live there based
Yeah,
on the condition of the animals. Because
yes,
they're trying to take away, in my opinion, all the stuff that we don't know we have and all that. And
the
so,
baggage.
yes.
They're like therapy. They are therapeutic. Very. I mean, there's research regarding that. Lowers your blood pressure, gets you out of depression. When they take dogs into nursing homes, the the, the residents just perk up and they act like they're 20. Loving all over this dog or cat. It's just amazing and it's just because they're very open. They're very empathic. They're very leaned into human beings because why we bred them to do that.
Well, do you believe that we'll get to this question, but if there is reincarnation and all that,
Yep.
do you believe that some of these animals come in as volunteer souls to actually do this kind of thing? Have you get anything like that from animals or
Yes. One specific reading I had that it was a guy who had this dog and he said, "What do you think about this dog?" And the first thing that I saw or heard or felt was that dog specifically picked him.
Oh, okay.
First of all, animals can reincarnate over and over and over and over. And I can see that when I read them. It's really funny how it shows it's like a symbol, but it shows me like a picture, a little icon of a dog, and then depending on how many times they reincarnate, it's it repeats. So like if there's seven of them, then I know the dog has reincarnated 7 times.
Well, that's really
Okay.
cool. I've never heard of that one. That's really cool.
This dog comes in the first thing he says to me is, I picked him. I picked him because I knew I could help him and heal him. I knew he was going to be a good owner for me or a good father for me or whatever he said. This dog was just like completely in love with this guy. He's like, I'm so glad I picked him. He's such a, he's wonderful, and I'm very happy. And I want to save him. I want to heal. This guy's been through shit. I'll tell you, I can't even see it all because he blocked a lot of it, but it's
Right.
seriously disturbing.
Well,
Um,
so in that paradigm though, then is in your experience working with animals, is an animal incarnation generally all they ever do as a soul, or is it like something that can be interchanged? Like one, there may be times.
oh, can they come back as a human?
Yeah.
I've not seen that. I don't see that. I honestly think that animals' souls and human souls are different.
Okay, that makes
It's
sense.
different. It's just different.
Okay. And so let's just continue on that conversation though. So how would you describe the energy of a soul versus spirit, or is it the same? What is your definition or experience with that?
Okay. To me, a soul to me is an orb.
Okay.
Um, it's white and it sits right at your sternum.
Ooh,
To me, that's where I see it. It's like in the sternum area of your body. Sometimes it radiates out, but that's how I see it. It's like a, I don't know, or like a baseball.
okay. And so how would you what do you say, distinguish between that and spirit? Is it the same for you?
Yes, a soul and a spirit to me is the same thing. It's the
Okay.
person. It's the person.
And so
It's
when
the
you
soul.
okay, and so when you work with, I guess, living people, then
Mm-hmm.
primarily, does this show up routinely for you? This
Their soul, the soul is always there in the same place. Yes, I always see it.
oh, okay. So that's
Sometimes it's not very bright. Sometimes, you can see, I can see like a darkness about it. Some people, like they freaking literally physically glow. Their aura is, to me, very evident. And I can see that their soul orb is bigger. So
oh, some are bigger than others. Okay.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And an animal soul, same thing, but it's just like a little ping pong ball. But
That's
it's the
interesting.
same thing. I mean, we're mammals. So there's so many physical connections that we can have with animals together, like souls. To be a mammal, every mammal has a soul in my book. Every animal, even a lizard,
Well, sure.
has a soul of a
Being, yeah,
sort.
right.
It's the life force of the corporal being.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Because I've had some visions in the past of like a valley of souls, and that's kind of the way I saw that as well, is but different colors for some reason. And so
Oh,
are they always white in color for you?
for me, yes. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes it might be, like muted, which means issues. The soul, there's something going on there and it needs to be cleaned or cleared or brushed away or whatever you want to call it. And then you get this pure white, divine soul.
Very cool. Well, I've not heard that definition before. That's interesting. So speaking
That's
of,
just me out of my head, honey. I never read this anywhere. It just comes out of my head.
well,
Seriously.
I think that's the best part of doing this is that the information we get, it's like you don't get it from other places generally. I mean,
Mm-mm.
more people are kind of quote unquote waking up, and so we're seeing more of that out on the internet, and we're seeing things. I don't think people truly understand it as much as they say they do.
Well, they're into the whole, it's in the dark and it's scary, and we have all these machines and equipment that can tell us who or what is there. I can't, no. The only thing I would want is an obulus because it gives you words, and that helps me. But going in there with all this equipment, flashy lights, and oh my God, the whatever is spiking, la la la. No, go in there in the middle of the day, do your thing. It's going to be the same thing as it is in the dark. It's the same. They
Oh,
do it in the dark because they make it scary.
I agree. And I think that the machinery and the technology only, I think, in my opinion, is used by people that are not really gifted and talented. Even if they are, they need that validation to prove that their gifts are true. I mean, at least that's my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And that's why I like the Ovilus because I can put out what I want to know, and that Ovilus should be able to answer me if I'm doing it right or if there's actually something there I should be able to hear from.
So when you say obelisk, are you referring to like a gemstone or something shaped like that? What does that mean?
Oh no, an Ovilus is like a talking box. It doesn't run through radio stations, but it
Picks up everything.
somehow
Okay, yeah.
yeah, it interprets the energy and feelings of the environment and turns it into words. And the machine has a certain amount of vocabulary. You can't limit them to that kind of vocabulary. To me, it's like it's these other machines are like limiting you to what you can actually experience. All you're experiencing is a flashing light. Big deal.
Right.
Big
Exactly.
deal.
It
So what?
doesn't
So the
help
light's
anything.
flashing. Okay. Give me something else. Flashy lights are not gonna scare. Nothing's gonna scare me. But all of that equipment is just messy to me. I go in with nothing. A pendulum, maybe.
Right.
And I do wear gemstones that have mythical properties to protect and to guide and to allow clarification,
Sure.
things like that. I use them a lot. I do use gems a lot. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that for validation, I know that we talked about that at the beginning, that validation is not always needed by folks that do what we do, but it does help occasionally to feel like you're still on track. And
Yeah.
so do those things, well, let me step back on that. So you and I have been working on a case of somebody that was found dead, a while back. We won't bring up the names or the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like we have been back and forth on things. You have a different idea, I have a different idea, but the I guess the thing is that's frustrating for both of us is we may never really know. And
Ugh, right.
it does, at least for me, maybe tell me if you feel the same. When you work with somebody and you help somebody out and you connect and you do all these things, I don't think it's so much validation, but to know how their life was affected down the road. How did it change the person?
Oh my God.
Right?
That is so awesome.
Right. And so, when somebody comes back to you like 3 years
Mm,
after you worked with them and they tell you this immaculate story, you go, wow,
yeah.
I got to push the start button. I mean,
Yes.
is that how you feel about it?
Oh my God. I have this. I do. I have clients that come back to me and say, "Do not ever change who you are. You have no idea how much you helped me. Just the words you said, and how I felt about you, and it's just like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now.
Me too, actually.
It's just incredible
It is.
because it's you actually done something. This is not a lark. This is real. I mean, it's the real deal. And
Correct.
oh my God, that just sends me to the moon when people do
Well,
that.
I mean, let's just face it. We're human beings and we have the emotional programming within us, no matter how good our gifts are. And
Yes,
I think validation in some way, shape, or form is helpful periodically. Because if all we're doing is
yes.
talking into the wind and we don't
And
know,
not,
yeah,
yeah,
we don't know if we need to work on things or change things or trust it better. I mean, it is nice to hear, of course, sure.
to me, it was, I, I have serious trust issues, probably because I can feel so much. But yeah, I think a lot of it for me was hammering home that yes, I can do this. This is real. believe in yourself. You have to trust that what you see, you can emote or opine about. You are legitimate,
Well,
and you have to keep going. You know
right.
that
That's the mission, right?
that's the basic message.
And so
Keep going.
one of the things that my mentor helped me understand is it's not my job to always understand what I get. It's my job to communicate it. And if it makes
Half the time I don't.
right,
It's
and
when
if,
I communicate it and they say, "Oh yeah, that's blah 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 blah." Yeah, all the time.
right. And sometimes it might not even matter then because the spiritual realm knows no time. Because sometimes it'll show up later for them. I just say keep it in your hat because it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Caveat off of that. So
Mm-hmm.
do you think that working in person with somebody is more effective, or does distance work the same? How does that work for you? Is there any difference, or do you have a preference? How does that work for you?
Personally, and this is maybe just because how I started, but I go in cold. I don't want to know a single thing. Your name, okay, I'll take that. Okay, I lost my train of thought again. What did you ask me?
Or I'm asking the differences for you, or if there is any, working with someone, uh, past or present, in person or by is distance.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
does any of that matter to you and how you connect and get information?
Okay. Yeah, I go in cold. I don't want to know anything. Say it one more time. Oh my God, I'm
That's
just like
okay.
totally.
So if you're working with somebody in the room
Oh, in
across the table
person
from
or
you,
not? I would rather do it not in person.
okay, why is that?
Um, and this is why. You're always going to get information from the other person if you're physically with them, body language, how they react, things like that. So for me, I have done readings both ways. And to be honest, I can be more free flowing when I'm doing it like on Messenger. It's just because I can just type away and I don't have to worry about what the person's doing, seeing, saying.
Okay,
I just put my head down and process.
right. Okay, well
So
that makes sense. I can for myself I can do either way. What I've discovered personally is that, doing it in person gives me that extra bonus of all the things you just talked about, where they wear their rings, what
yeah, you
all
notice stuff.
all those things, right? And but that's just added bonus. I mean, to me personally, I asked that question because me personally, I don't think distance makes any difference
No, no.
because
I've remote viewed. I've remote viewed. I remote viewed your house.
right, yeah, and you found some things that I didn't tell you that were there, and you went, oh yeah, right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have found a dead person as well through a police department.
sure,
Yeah, that was insanely crazy, very crazy. I was reading a woman and she's talking about her son who had been killed in a motorcycle accident, I think it was. I said, there's this other guy that keeps coming in. There's this other guy. He looked really young and there was something about a red bandana. And I said, he's who is it? He was a very good friend to your son. And she said, oh yeah, yeah, I know who that is. It's blah blah blah. And I said, is there any way, do you know his mother? Can I get in touch with her? So she connected me up with her. She's also Wiccan. It's funny. I find all these Wiccan people without even trying. Her brother, after this accident with his best friend, got himself back into drugs and went down and did a deal, went into the woods, shot himself up, and overdosed. Uh,
wow,
this was in like October. We did not find him until like March. And he had been searched. This particular area of woods is well known for being a drug area. People go into those woods and use drugs. And the dealers, I can see all this in my head. The dealers are like right across the street. Again, you don't know what you're buying.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's gotten the
Yeah,
world's
he
gotten
didn't
crazy.
know. He didn't know what he bought. He didn't. I'm okay. I might cry. He did not know what he bought, and he just said to himself, "This is the last time. This is the last time I'm going to do this for you, the friend." And he did not realize what had happened until it was already until he had pushed the needle all the way in, and then he went both up and died. So I saw his death, his what do you call it when they're eroding away, uh,
Right.
like just he had on there were sunglasses. I saw the red banner around his head, but he was like almost skeletal, but like his clothes were still on and there was a little bit of tissue here. It was kind of, yeah. It's like, please don't go very close. But what she did was, because I said, you're going to be able to find him. I know where he is. If you go into those woods, I will help you. So he calls me out of the clear blue sky and says, we're in the woods. And I said, who? I knew she was with some guys. Who are you with? She said, I'm with my brother's wife and state police. And I said, oh, okay. She's like, we're going to find him. So I just sat there and literally directed them through Messenger. I said, okay, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. And then I said, stop right where you are. Go to the left off the path. Go straight to the left. He's sitting at the base of the tree right there. She called me and said, we found him. He's exactly where you said he was.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Goosebumps. This is a goosebumpy session. And now we're very good friends. She and I are very good friends. Her brother visits on a regular basis. He has his own set of symbols that I know. It's
Right.
him. And it's just amazing. We have this whole little relationship going on, the three of us. And sometimes there's other people that jump in, her mother, her stepfather, her. It's just, it's like I have all of these connections with dead people, and it's like having connection with a live person.
It sure is.
It's a
It's
cyber connection,
it
you
is.
know,
It's almost like we're all still part of the quantum
the
field,
whole
right?
connection. It's
Right.
like a huge radio station. Everybody has a channel. We all channel in together. There's there's ropes and connections and wires and I mean, it's just people don't understand what I don't understand what I can see.
Well,
Uh,
I think
I was
that's
telling you about that.
right. It's kind of the beauty of it, though, isn't it? I mean, I think if we understood everything completely,
Well, there'd be nothing to
yeah,
do.
nothing to learn, nothing to strive for.
There
So
would be no purpose,
do you
really.
think do you think though that some souls we talk about souls crossing over, going back to the source or God or wherever that
Yeah.
idea lies. Do you think that in your, or at least in your experience, are there some souls that kind of get stuck or tethered here for reasons like you just spoke of? Maybe they need resolution, maybe they need their family to have resolution. How does that work for you, or what is your experience with that?
Okay. Perfect example of a recent one I did of the man I saw in the house. So I see a man and a lady in the house. I can tell when somebody is senile or demented.
Sure.
I can tell if it's residual. But there were two ghosts in the same house. The guy was intelligent. He was communicating. The woman was a senile, residual mess of I have no freaking clue where I am. I'm just wandering around, and somebody please get me out of here, kind of thing.
So like a stuck spirit almost.
She was stuck. She was definitely stuck. And it was basically because she had Alzheimer's and couldn't figure out what to do. The light was there, she could see it, but her demented mind did not allow her to go. So, but the other guy was like, "Where's my wife? I can't find my wife." He was kind of stuck too. He kept looking for his wife, and he didn't want to go up. I said, "That's where you're gonna see her. You need to go. You got to go up. That's where she is." So yeah, people they do get stuck and confused. Sometimes they get stuck because somebody is controlling them due to whatever happened beforehand, however, like prostitutes or I shouldn't say that, abused children, people who've had a rough time. Yeah, of
Sure.
course their souls are going to get stuck. They're so messed up. They can't shove it all away and just let go. They can't let go. They don't have the ability, either because somebody is suppressing them, the abuser is still suppressing that person and controlling that person. That can happen.
So are you saying then that many of the energies you connect with that are not living represent themselves basically the way they were last alive? Is that what your normal experience is?
I ooh, I can see. Usually, I can see what happened. Even if it's just like I died, normal death. Okay, what was your question again?
So, okay, so for example, for me, usually when I'm connecting with a someone that has passed, they usually present themselves the way the client, for example, or the way they were last alive on the earth.
Oh, you mean physically?
Yes.
Oh, no, that doesn't always happen with me.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes I see them as a younger person.
Sure, that happens occasionally for me, but not routine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, it's different. Sometimes when I connect, I see the younger person, like with this. When I found the guy,
Right.
the I saw him as a young person, like 20ish, but he was actually, in his mid to late 30s when he overdosed. So, but I think it's about the personality. It's
There
like,
you go. There you go.
okay,
That's
are
exactly
they?
it.
Yeah, are they happy? What were they like in life? Were they happy go lucky? Were they, just not a nice person? And not every bad entity is a demon. For Christ's sake, I wish people would get off of the demon crap.
Oh my gosh, yes. Right.
Like minus 0.1% of ghosts are demons. Okay, it's just they're just bad, and
Right.
that bad energy can accumulate and accumulate and accumulate and turn itself into something dark. But it's not a freaking demon every time. Come on.
I know I've worked with a lot of folks in the past that, everything was about demons. I'm like, really,
No.
you got to stop. And
Yes.
well, that this take an interesting turn then. So I get a lot of people that come to me that are convinced that they've had curses, generational curses, and the outside or external forces are causing the problem. In my
Yep.
experience, much of that is happening between their own ears. What is your thought on curses?
Okay. Interesting. Well, you have to believe in them for one
Sure.
thing.
Exactly.
There are certain cultures who definitely listen. I think there's power to it. I do think there's power. I did have a client who latched onto or was taken in by this particular woman who said she was a bruja and she was Hispanic. She, from what it looked like to me, she had enough knowledge and experience to stir things up. And she specifically did that so that she could con people. So she knew how far she could go with her abilities. And then it was just about getting the person back so they could spend more money. Okay.
Okay.
So he didn't go back to her and she freaking hexed him. I thought she hatched him. She was doing something with cards, and it's like Santeria or one of it's something, some one of those types of religions. Okay, Caribbean, African. Now it was not voodoo. I know that, but anyway, she's doing something with the cards, and she picked a card, which I assume was a representation of him, and she flipped it.
Ooh.
Like you flip the top of somebody's head, she like flipped the card, and you're going to think I'm crazy. I saw this little black tarry spot fly across the country and deposit itself into the guy because he lived in Delaware and she was in Texas.
Well, I don't think you're crazy. Let's just get that out
You know
there.
what it looks like? It looked like a little piece of tar, wet tar.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like yesterday I did a Reiki session virtually, for example, and in part of that, I did a connection with the person's higher consciousness to do some good, to discuss with that person themselves and put in good intentions
Mm,
for good reasons. So if it's possible for good things, I'm certain that there is a way to make it for not so good things. How do
of
you?
course, it's easier. It's easier. They want you. Are you kidding? Like I just said, minus 0.1% is demons.
Sure.
They want in. That's why you don't mess with Ouija boards. I'm telling you, there. I don't laugh. There is truth to that.
Oh no, I totally
There is
agree.
so much truth to that. That is the easiest way in. And people are like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Demons on them. No, 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 no. You don't get it.
So have you had an interaction with the demonic?
Well, not exactly. I did read a house that had a demon in it, but I didn't, partake in anything, any investigation or anything. Somebody just asked me, and the first thing that came in my head was demon, and I said, "There's a demon in there." That
Okay.
was like 25 years ago, or long time ago. But what did happen to me is you're going to think I'm crazy again. Um, we, I'd say, I got involved in a very, very old, well known, well heard of coven in the Northeast. And the crone was a good friend of some of my Wiccan friends. And so they would go to her rituals, and she had them like their eyes were glazed over with amazement. And I'm like, "Fuck, really? Her?" I didn't say anything because she's all, and it's like they were so into the whole ritual point of doing circles. Like they would dress up in costumes and do a whole like play thing. I'm like, this is no, 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 no. What are you people doing? This is not what it's supposed to be about. It's
Right.
not about a cast of characters. It's this is wrong. This is so wrong. In my head, I'm like, ah. But anyway, somehow we pissed her off. And my friend, she's like, I keep seeing these little dark things at work. Lisa downstairs, she keeps we keep seeing these weird little like things flying by. And I'm like, well, I nothing going on in my house, and I don't see what you're seeing because I could remote view her shop. And I think it was the same night I was walking into the kitchen, and through my back door, this streak, it had a little green in it, but it was mostly black, flew from the door, flew over and stopped for like a nanosecond. And it was a being. It was a small little, I call it an imp. And he or it smiled at me and took off. And this all happened, I swear to you, in like 3 seconds. But when he looked at me, I, took it all in. He was just this little, he had no hair at all. And I've seen drawings of it online of this little thing. And I'm like, my God, that's what I saw. It was just this little, he had long claws. It was bipedal, fat ears, no hair whatsoever. He looked like Gollum from
Okay.
what's that movie?
Lord of the
Lord of
Rings.
the Rings. He looked like that, except his eyes were a lot smaller, almond shaped, and freaking black. Almost like you could put your finger in and peel off the tar out of his eyes.
Oh yeah, the black eye
Yeah,
thing. Oh yeah,
yeah. And his
yeah.
smile was like oversized, and his teeth were nasty. And then he took off. When I do spells, it's more to me like a prayer. I just pray. I just pray. I just say different things than other people do.
Right.
So I said a banishment, anti negativity prayer for several days. And my Wiccan friend did too. And then everything just went away, disappeared. Never had a problem.
Interesting. Well, I find it
Next,
amazing. I find it amazing though when you talk about evil entities in any circle, it is very. It's not really a good thing. That's the way I would say
no.
that. Because I've had some of my former psychic and mediumship friends, shamans and things that I've mentioned before that Lucifer's had conversations with me, which didn't feel evil or bad at all, actually. But I got disowned by a lot of people simply because I mentioned that. And it's
Yep.
not even just regular people, quote unquote. It's also in our own circles.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they don't understand. Okay. I had a revelation last night. We were watching Unsolved Mysteries of all things, but
Okay.
they were talking about the Mothman.
Okay.
I think that that is a fallen angel.
I've not watched the show, so you might have to elaborate on that.
The Mothman?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! It's a cryptid mystery. It appears, and they think he's like a bad omen. They see it. They saw it in the sky at Chernobyl. They saw it at this huge bridge collapse in Virginia way back in the '60s. He was seen in Chicago before a bridge collapse. But it's just this winged being with red eyes.
Oh, okay.
It looks like, and it looks like to me when I looked at it and I saw the drawing, like my God, that could be a fallen angel. That could just be that. But why? Why? Why do you
Well,
appear?
the thing in my experience with having conversations with Lucifer is more about
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it wasn't really scary because it was more of a conversation of him explaining that this is my realm. This is what I get to control. You know,
Yeah.
once you leave this planet, this reality, whatever it is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's God's realm. So, but this was given to me.
Right.
And so I don't think it's necessarily pure evil. It's just the process of the good and the bad, the light and the dark. I think it's necessary. How do you feel about that?
Definitely necessary. Definitely. You cannot have light without darkness. You
Correct.
cannot have darkness without light. There's just
Yes.
no way around it.
No, I totally agree. And
Right?
you don't know good without bad, on and on and on. You could go
Right.
thick.
How could you tell? How would you know?
Exactly. So,
You know?
so I think all of the entities, in my opinion, that are out there, which they're probably endless, they all have their roles. You know, they all
Yes.
are here to train us human beings as a soul, or a soul having a human experience. Sorry. Uh,
Yes.
and without all of those components, we're not going to graduate, so to speak.
That's what I'm talking about when I tell you that the aliens can't figure out the whole soul thing.
Right.
It's
Oh,
not
yes.
a part that you can interchange. A human being has to have a life in order to make that soul with you have to have baggage. You have to have trauma. You have to have those things in your life.
Otherwise,
Uh,
why are we
why
here?
live?
Just
Why live at all?
eat, work, consume, and die. No, 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 no.
Right? That's why the aliens can't figure it out. They don't have emotions. They don't have a soul life like we do. They
So do
don't
you
have that.
so do you feel like there are hybrids or others among us that
Yes,
manage to try to infiltrate and figure out how that works?
yes, definitely.
I do too. I just wanted to see how you felt about it. And I
Well,
think that
now before I met you, I had read, you know who Whitney Strieber is?
I've heard the name, yes.
Yeah. Oh, big time. He wrote a book, Communion.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes. That book made me stop and think for a second because until then I was like, there's no alien. What are you talking about? Nah. But I mean, seriously, if you look at it scientifically, how can there not be? Just look at it from a scientific point of view. See how huge our universe is, and then realize we are a pinpoint, a dot
If
in the
that,
Milky Way, just
if
in the
that,
Milky Way.
yes.
Then you've got beyond that, there's no way there can't be other beings somewhere. Come on.
Right. Yeah, even if the universe was not what they say it is, and we're some kind of video game, there's still external forces and beings that would infiltrate, right? I mean, and no matter how you look at it scientifically, there's always an external,
Force.
right, or entity
Yes.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of arguments about the reality, but I don't think it matters, to be honest.
No, I just really think that I don't know if it's well, okay, let me step back. Before I met you, I was just I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptical believer. You got to
Sure,
prove it to me first because I'm
sure.
not going to believe your ass if you don't. I was very much on the fence about that. And I don't know if there's different species, but I do know at least what I'm experiencing is that they really want to figure out this soul thing because they're not going to be able to move on with their mission if they cannot figure this one little thing out. It's like, and we've been their petri dish forever, ever.
Right. We are the grand experiment, it
Oh
seems.
my God. Yes. Yes.
And everybody's watching and everybody's prying and everybody's doing, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Intruding.
yes,
I
right.
mean, you talk about Big Brother. Big Brother's been here.
No, I don't disagree. So let's kind of move to a different topic. Not that this is not interesting, but I wanted to
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
cover
Go ahead.
something else. And so back those couple years ago at that store, you came in and had a Reiki session done by myself. And normally I talk all the way through mine, but you said, I just want to journey. I want to go places while you do it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And that experience was really cool. So I'll describe it for the audience is that, I was able to, since I wasn't talking, I was
Mm,
actually able to concentrate and watch you interact with a guide. And every time you kind of woke up, or so to speak, came in and out. It's like you took off and then you came back and you were interacting with this guide. And so I
hmm
wanted you to talk about guides and because I saw a like an Indian type person of sorts, and you've talked a lot about that, but I don't know if you touch a little bit on that, how you view guides and what you think they are for you.
Okay. This is a really, really good subject because our guys are with us so often, and people don't understand that all of those little messages they think they are getting, they are actually getting. Again, you have to quiet yourself and listen. At one point, somebody said something about online about tuning in. oh, it's windy out today. And I said, the wind carries the voices of angels.
Ooh, never heard that. That's cool.
It does. Okay. It's an elemental, it's a
Oh,
life force, right?
right.
Air, wind, water, earth. Okay. And the messages will come to you if you just shut up, look, keep your ears open, your eyes open, and just be there. And and it comes. Anyway, the guides, all of those little intuitional gut feelings that people have
Yes.
is your guide. It's one of your guides. It's either your and you they're the guides have different roles. I have a family. I mean, I have a huge there's I had like 12 at one point, but now there's like so many people in my guide circle. It's insane.
Yeah, so you can find the specialist that you need or listen to the specialist you need.
They're just like I'm not even asking. They're just here. They're
I
just here.
know.
And there's like 50 plus of them. It's amazing. When it first started happening, it was my friend that said something about guides. And then I had a reading done by the woman that sent me that in. She was pretty good at reading, but then again, but she said, there's an old man standing behind you. And it was like 2 seconds after I sat down. And I just got this wash of warmth and love. And it was my grandfather.
Oh, cool.
His nickname was Old Man. That's what we called him, Old Man.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's some validation for you.
Right? Click, 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 click. So he was the first one who stepped forward and said, hey, you know, we're here. And they all have, oh, I'm getting goosebumps again because they know they're being spoken of. Yes, 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 you're being spoken of. Well, he was a Mason.
Right.
I never, I knew there was a special connection between us, but I always thought it was just me wanting a special connection between us. But I actually think it was real. And I also found out that my grandmother was an empath. She's another one of my guides.
Right.
And they all have their own way of saying hello to me. My Native American guide, who's a Cree, you saw his picture.
Yes.
That was now see, you talk about validation. I saw stars when I saw that picture. I was just like, oh my God, that could be him. It could be him. It was just so the face looked so familiar to me. But anyway, so my grandfather, they all have their own way. He gives me a really long "I love you," and he says my name a lot. Once I opened up, there were a lot of dead people coming and needing help. So I said, listen, I need help from you, my grandfather. And he said,
Right.
okay, I'll take care of the moving along of these people. And then all of a sudden, all these other guides started coming. The second one was my Native American guide. I know his name and I knew about the Cree thing. It was interesting how I figured that out. I have had a long term obsession with Native Americans. I'm a Yankee, okay? I lived in a big white house with black shutters, a colonial, never had anything to do with Native American anything in my family or elsewhere, except that I was a campfire girl. It's like Girl Scouts, but we were campfire girls.
Sure.
And so it was kind of connected to, I think it was the Algonquins up in northern New York, upstate New York, and into Canada. And so that was my only connection. But for some reason, I wanted to be an Indian. I started braiding my hair and, like trying to sit Indian style and stuff like that.
Right.
And I just couldn't understand it because it was nowhere. It was nowhere in my life. But I wanted to learn how to speak Native American languages. I wanted to know where they're from. I wanted to know everything. And it stuck with me. Like my house up north, Native American. You couldn't tell I was a Yankee. You could tour the whole house. You wouldn't find a single thing that let you know I was a Yankee, except for one picture. But you know what I mean? It's like it was always there and I never understood. This guy comes along. I'm like, ah, Eureka. This is what it was
Right.
all about. It was about
Exactly.
him. He's been here. He's been here for my whole life. He's been protecting me my whole life. He's been there. He's been there all along. I don't know what I said to you several weeks ago because I've been listening to Native American music and trying
Right.
to connect in that way. And I said, these songs, it sounds like these songs, I have heard these songs for thousands of years. I felt like these songs were in my DNA when I heard them. And the pictures of the people were almost three-dimensional to me. I could almost reach out and touch them. I knew them. I knew those faces. I knew those people. I'm gonna cry. I it was just insane how much I could see. And he showed me his particular life path. We white people that's desecrated their population and the buffalo and everything else. But now Cree Nation is the biggest Native American nation in Canada. They've got like hundreds of thousands of Crees up there. Can't imagine the smile on my face. It makes me so happy. It makes me want to go there and just like hug everybody.
Well, maybe you'll get that chance one day. That'd be kind of
Maybe I might want to move to Canada considering what's going to happen later. Uh, we're
right.
not
And
going to
so,
talk about that. We
right,
can't talk.
right,
No,
right.
that's too much. Okay, bring me back down. Guide.
All right, right,
So
right. How do you feel they influence you? Is it like an audio, a visual, feeling, a knowing?
it's it's all of that. They do it all. Concerning guides, I had a reading with another lady. I've gone to like many different mediums just to see what I can get from it because you don't always get the same thing. But I do notice that the base, the foundation, is normally the same if they're good.
Right.
Um, so anyway, this woman says, because we made an appointment, she gets me on the phone. She says, I have 2 pages of notes. I've been taking notes all week. We need to talk about your guides. Who are these people? I'm like, okay, okay. She's like, well, who are the Quakers? Who are they? Who's the blah blah blah? She's like naming them off, like not names, but because a lot of people can't get names. I get names.
Yeah, I don't really get
You
names.
don't get names. I have names. Everybody has a name, but I'm also very wordy, and I like giving people nicknames. So maybe that's why.
Maybe. Sure.
I love words. And there's a sign of intelligence when you can use curse words in grammatical fashion in a sentence.
Is that your,
That means you're smart.
is that a specialty of yours?
That's what I heard once.
Oh
If
my
that
God.
makes me smart, God help me.
Well, I do find though that doing readings on the spot or in the instant or the moment effective the same. But if I have a lag between when I'm going to meet somebody, that happens to me a lot too. It's just like I get flooded with all this stuff. So by the
Yes.
time I meat with them, they're like, wow. I'm like, well, you gave me time. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Me too. It's like I, or it will come on. So this is what happened to me a lot with texts. It's like 2 seconds, I got everything. It's like, oh, don't go away. We're going to do this right now because
I
your
got to
boss is
remember it.
here. Your
I got
dog is here right now, and this man has a lot to say. Do not leave. That's the thing is, even if I well, this was before. I can do it better now, but I used to have an actual connection with the person, like have them actively on Messenger with me. But now I can just flow and go. I don't need to have that connection, so to speak. So yeah, it's like, sometimes it comes so fast that I cannot allow them to leave the conversation, and then other times it takes a minute because people block.
Oh yes, yeah. I was gonna bring that up too, actually.
Blocking. Oh
Yeah.
yes, we
So
need
so
to talk about that.
so so I have a quick experience at that store a while back where
Mm.
a gal came in and she wanted a tarot reading, and she sat there across the table as if I was God. I knew why she came, right? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, right? So I put the cards out and it just was not flowing. I was literally getting nothing from this woman, right? Or at all. I
Okay, can
literally,
I inject here for a second?
yeah, then 1 second. So I folded up the cards. I put them down. I said, you know what? We're going to have to do this a different time. You need to find somebody else because you and I are not a good fit. So
Nope.
I don't think there's any problem with doing that and being honest instead of making something up. How do you feel about that kind of idea?
She was toying with you.
Oh, yes, of course.
Can I just say
She
that?
wanted to see if I was authentic.
Yes, yes, I get blocked. Some people are really good.
They are. They
It's just like I can literally almost see the person standing there, but then there's just a wall, like a brick
exactly.
wall. It's like, what? Who? How is this person doing this?
So
Um,
you really didn't come to me for answers.
that woman did not. She wasn't coming for answers. She was messing with you. She just wanted to see what you would say and then call you a liar.
I know. So, I mean, I
And then she went to, no, I shouldn't say that. Never mind.
probably went to somebody else. Sure.
No, she went to church.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. So I ended up doing, a distance reading without necessarily her asking. And when I gave her the information, that's what she needed. But for some reason, that being there and present or present with her just was not working. It's, I
Yeah,
think for all the psychics and mediums out there, though, if you find yourself in those situations, there's nothing wrong with going, I think I'm the wrong person. I
I
just,
will say, yeah, I will say, I mean, I will tell them, I'm getting blocked here. I don't know what's going on, but can you slow down a little bit here? I'm not getting a lot of information. So
right.
I try to pull them in because usually it's some of it is just distraction. People are distracted. They're doing 45 things at once, babysitting, the job, the husband, the whole housework, blah, 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 all this again, static, human
Well,
being static.
I mean, yeah, I mean, as good as we are, I think we're both pretty good. But the thing is that we are not God. We are not the Almighty. We don't, the information we get is not always what they're seeking. It's what they need to know. Uh,
That is so true.
right?
Because I literally, when I say I go in cold, I don't take questions. I don't ask people what they want. I tell them what I get,
Correct.
right? Because you're exactly right. They're going to get what is the most prioritous in their life right now. Now, you may have, you know, 15 people standing there trying to tell you what to do, but I may only talk to three of them because they're the most vocal or most prominent. It's like if there's a person in charge, so to speak, of this little guide group, they step up first and they talk for the group.
Right. I find that interesting too that you mentioned that. Sorry, I'm going to deviate just a second. Is when I do hypnosis and I connect with their guides or whatever on the other side, I think maybe 1 or 2 times out of 7 or 8 years I've been doing this, has there been just a single guide. It always seems to be a family or a group,
Oh yeah.
right? I've never heard
Hmm.
an I or a me. It's always a we or an us.
Yes. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a job. And it's funny what their jobs are. Like my grandfather, he does all the day-to-day business of, whatever he does. I don't even know what he does anymore, but he's busy. It's like and all these guys are in their own version of heaven. And this is part of it. This is part of what they do in heaven. They die. He's up there, and I can see him, and he's there, and he just sort of is a good. He was a foreman, so he's good at
He's the
prioritizing,
foreman.
collaborating, blah blah blah.
That's a good way to put it. He's the foreman.
Yeah, he. I can't do it all. Okay, that's the thing about a medium. That's what your guides are for. They are tools. Everybody and everyone is a different tool because you and we can't do the whole thing. If we did the whole thing, we would be in an insane asylum.
Oh, I
It
agree.
would be too much, right? So
Yes.
we need these people. And it's funny, like medium brought up the Quakers. I did
Uh-huh.
have Quakers. I do. I have a pair of Quakers, Joseph and Gloria, and they're from somewhere in Pennsylvania, Ohio, somewhere over there. And their job is to literally just keep me grounded. They are just like, hey, listen, listen, it's about planet Earth here.
Right.
You can get what you need right here on planet Earth. You know what I mean? There's no place like home.
That's true.
Um, so they kind of keep me grounded. One of my Native Americans is my ultimate protector. But there's also, I have two homes. There's a group of Native Americans. I call them the workers, and
Okay.
they basically surround and protect my property up north because we have woods and there's elementals, and they're welcome to any elemental that wants to come in the yard. We have flowers and chimes and lights and trinkets and stuff like that so they can be happy, but they protect from anything else. I don't know if you believe in this, but I freaking had pudwuppies.
What?
A pudwuppie,
I don't know
a
what that is.
troll,
Oh, a
like a
troll.
troll.
A troll. Okay.
It's called a
Sure.
pudwuppi up where I live.
Sure. I've seen trolls and fairies and things, but
I've seen,
not
yeah,
routinely. Yeah.
I had trolls, and these two freaking trolls were attached to a um, handicapped man that lived in the assisted living facility next door to my house. So I'm on the phone with this other medium, and she says, "They see you." Because I said, I've had these like weird scratchy noises on my window, and I don't have a tree near my window specifically for that reason. I don't want to hear it. I keep hearing these little scratches and like weird grunty noises and stuff. And she's like, they came from next door because they saw you. They saw your light. We glow. We psychically glow. So all of these beings, any soul in this universe, any being, we are like a freaking lighthouse. Please come here.
Oh,
So,
yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
right,
Abs-
right.
Absolutely.
So,
We are one of the train stops in the universe that is the most visited, in my opinion.
and the most illuminated.
Yes.
So they saw me and like, ooh, new blood, let's come over. So they were trying to mess with me in the window. And then as soon as she said that, I could see them. They
So
were so ugly.
so how do you protect yourself, if you will? What is your process
Of protection.
of protection if you have entities that are unwanted, or you're just too busy, or you're just like tired, or you want how does that work for you?
My guides, my guides helped me.
Okay.
Like as soon as we knew about the Pajawakis, I told my Native American protector guide, hey, we got to do something about this property line. So they did. They surround my entire property line and nobody can get in. I feel like I have the same thing here in where I'm at now,
Right.
which is my other house. It's a psychic wall of protection. I am of the feeling that not everybody gets that. Not everybody gets protected in this fashion. Obviously, people have horrible experiences. So,
Sure.
what, why? Listen, everybody has mediumistic abilities. Everybody has psychic abilities.
I agree with
You,
that.
right? You're not listening, you're not hearing, you're not seeing. Okay.
Well, then,
Why?
well, let's,
Why would people have these horrible experiences if your guides are there? Why me? Why am I so protected?
I don't know about you, but I don't think guides are just, I think when you begin to work with them, then there's more protection. But if you don't know they're there, you're ignoring them or you're just oblivious, I don't think they're
They
guides are
don't have enough power.
right, exactly. They're not conjoined or energetically connected with you, and I don't think it works the same. I'm not saying that they don't try, but I don't think it's
Yes, I agree with
effective,
that. I
right?
agree with that. Yeah, but it upsets me that people have to have such horrible experiences, and it's like nightmare. Oh my gosh, I never had a nightmare in my life. Never.
Well, do you think that my belief is that, in the reincarnation model, which I believe is true, I do believe that some people come for experiences that they're supposed to have that are bad, call it karma, whatever you want to call it. And other times they have a reward life or a rest life or whatever. I mean, how do you feel about that idea? I mean, where do you stand on that?
Karma is real.
Yes.
You better damn well believe it. These politicians need to keep their freaking heads down. Stop being acting like 12-year-olds because karma is a bitch. It's a real
Yes.
bitch. Can you exact karma? Hell yes, you can. I believe you can. I have extreme belief in Wiccan religion. I'm not going to call myself a Wiccan because I don't apply all of that to myself, and I hate the fact of being labeled and thinking that it's all about the ritual. It has nothing. It's not about the ritual. It's just not. The ritual is just a barrier to me. Anyway, okay, lost my train of thought again. Jesus.
Reincarnation, karma.
Reincarnation and karma. Okay. I think that I was reincarnated to have the life I was supposed to have. I believe that now because I understand. I'm not exactly happy about it because my life wasn't great. And I have a very, very strong belief that trauma and mediumship go together,
Oh, I totally agree. I
right?
mean, you can't help people with experience unless you've had experience.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to get 20 years of experience is to get 20 years of experience. You can't shortcut it.
Right. This is why I don't like people that walk in with a 4-year college degree. I'm over here. I'm 40 years old. I've been doing this job for 25 years, and this son of a bitch is going to get my job because he's got a 4-year degree on a piece of paper. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And he
that's
went to Harvard. They freaking buy their way through that school. Everybody buys their way through that school. Give me a break.
I know, and it's
I'm
like paying,
sorry.
paying for your own servitude, really. But
Oh.
opinion, there's some good college degrees. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a dentist, that's important, right? But
Mm-hmm.
some of the run-of-the-mill things I don't think are really, I don't
Being
get.
a really rich asshole is not exactly in my view.
Right. So
Rupert Murdoch can stay right where he is. I could care less. And no, I'm not going to marry him.
let's so let's go back to the beginning a little bit here.
Okay.
So
I'm glad
you
you have notes because, Mister, I'm just on the fly here.
right. So I wanted to touch on one more thing for sure before we kind of wrap this up. Is you talked about being still and connecting
Mhm.
and tuning in. A lot of people struggle with meditation, and there's a lot of processes for learning how to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
I learned it my own way, but I'm just curious, how would you suggest or how did you do the process to learn that? Because it doesn't come natural for most people.
go outdoors. Go outdoors. Get in the grass. Don't go out there with the intent on meditating.
Hmm.
Just go out there. sit out there, go to a park, smell flowers, listen to the wind, see the sky. Don't listen to music. Don't get, don't put, turn your cell phone off. You need to experience nature. I cannot express the importance of knowing our world and what kind of condition it's in, because again, I think there's a direct connection between nature and us.
Sure, the resonance frequency, or at least used to be the same between us and Mother Earth. I think that's changing, but
You have to connect with the natural world. You have to. If you want to be a good medium, if you want to be a shaman, especially Native, I'm very cued into Native American religion and what they think and how they feel and what they do. I've been called a shaman. I've been called a shadow walker. I've been called Anubis. I've been called a lot of things. I revere nature. I respect nature. I understand what I need to do to create a welcoming and peaceful environment surrounding me.
do you
And
think that some of that goes back to what you've
oh,
recently,
way back medieval times.
I mean, but what you've discovered about yourself and your DNA of the Indian
Uh, uh,
shaman background?
okay, what was your question again?
I
How
said,
did I?
do you think that your technique has kind of come forth or been born based on what you've more recently discovered about your Native
My
American?
Native American sort of,
Yes.
I think I have Native American blood in me. I don't know how much, and I don't know from whence because there's the records are literally gone. You know, I'd have to go way back.
I ask that because there's a million and one ways to learn how to meditate and be still.
I just went out and I just said, you know what, you need to calm your ass down, woman. You just need to calm down. And people were saying that to me too. You need to calm down and listen.
Yeah, and I mean, not to sound bad, but when I first met you, boy, you were a hopping and popping. Oh my gosh.
I was a mess. I was a mess. A mess.
Yeah.
I was just all over the place.
Well,
Um,
everybody comes in your life for a reason, and that was part of it, I'm sure. You know, it
yeah, you gave me a jolt. I'll tell you that. I'm like a male medium. Don't know if I'm going to like this one.
well, that's a good point because there is not, it seems like this craft, if you want to call it that, is really dominated by the females, which, in a lot of ways is because most females are wired for intuition to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Most males
Because
are
they
not.
have children.
Well, there's that, right?
well,
But
well, we're born to have we're made to have kids, and believe me, you have to have intuition when you have kids. You know, why is it so quiet in the bathroom all of a sudden?
oh
you know,
yeah, well, that's a good point because yeah, women's brains are, the normal, quote unquote, normal woman's brain is designed for global attention, whereas guys were more focused.
you
For
guys are arrogant.
well, that's true. We can be, sure. But the thing about that is, obviously men can do it, I
Hmm.
do it, and there's some, but you have to do it more on purpose as a guy for the most part.
Yeah, but
Women,
you had innate ability.
oh
I
sure,
believe that you had innate ability from your father. I think we talked about this a long time ago.
oh sure, it,
Um,
it started
your
from when I was
dad,
a youngster, yeah.
yeah, you showed me a picture of him. I'm like, yep,
Well, he was,
there he is.
yeah, my father was a soul born out of time when it was not even, yeah, he couldn't do anything with it because of
Oh, he was so frustrated.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. To kind of wrap this up, so if somebody is experiencing these things or they want to begin to do these type of things as a psychic, as a medium, as a
Do
clair,
they want to be a medium?
or whatever you want to call it, what is your recommendation for starting? What would you tell them to do as they begin to start feeling these things? Ooh, I put her on the spot this time.
I keep losing my train of thought. I don't know why I got brain fog today.
Well, let me get you started.
Have faith. The first
Okay.
thing I would say is have faith in the fact that you do have this ability. and you can learn how to enhance it. You have to be honest with yourself, right down to your toes, that you can do it because you can. Now, it may take some people years to figure it out. It may take people a day. Once I figured out that I needed to open up, it took me like a minute. And then, it was all like right there. The way I started with meditation. And honest to God, I got way down to earth. I was doing a lot of gardening and landscaping and just being wood, doing wood with my husband, being out there and working the land and making it better. And people don't understand that, yeah, we grew fruit trees and did all this stuff with our lawn to make it look pretty. But in the dark ages, it was for the elementals. It was to keep them happy.
Sure.
When spring cleaning comes around, that's from the dark ages. That's when you get all the bad stuff out of your house from over winter, and you literally cleanse your house, open up all the windows, clean everything, la la la, sweep from east to west or whatever it is. That's all down in the dark ages. It's been here for centuries, thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Why wouldn't you be able to do it?
So in other words, you're saying that you have to clean your own consciousness of all,
Yes,
right? And
from thoughts, ideas. Yes, you have to. People need to pay attention to their dreams. If you are a lucid dreamer, meaning you literally, it's like a movie and you wake up and you can remember some of it, you need to pay attention.
go
If you,
research it. Yes, go research.
right? If you have serial dreams, meaning the same dream over and over, pay attention. That is so metaphoric of what your life is about. It's
Yes.
insane. Once you figure it out, you're going to be like, oh my God, I need to have dreams so I can figure stuff out. Honest to God, I love
Yeah.
dreaming.
Yeah, because I got an answer along those lines during hypnosis. A client wanted to know why she spent all night dreaming. And the answer I got back from the collective consciousness was, well, if you just did the work while you're awake, we wouldn't have to keep you awake at night now, would we?
Ah, then another one. It just goes back to that. You have to, our environment is so filled with junk, houses, cars, money, sex. You have to be willing to go back in your mind to when none of this existed and you were just here on this planet as a spiritual being in nature. You have to go back that far because that's how your soul develops. And I wanted to punch in for a second because you were the first male medium I ever met, saw, went to ever. And it was really interesting because I got the point of view from a man. I don't think like a man, I think
Right.
like a woman, right?
Sure.
And it's frustrating when I'm trying to read men because
Yeah.
I don't think like them. And I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to be crude, but I need to grow a penis. I need to grow a penis to figure out how to talk to these men. You know what I mean? And you helped me be able to switch up whatever it is in my brain and be able to do. I mean, to be honest, I've always been more comfortable around men than women because I'm not catty. I don't like lying. I don't like cheating. I don't like, let's all go to the bathroom together and bitch about our boyfriends. I
Oh my
hate that
God.
shit.
Right.
I don't do that. I can sit at the bar with a bunch of men and have the best time ever. So I had to lean into that and think like a man. Beer, sex, money,
Sure.
anything that makes noise. Maybe not in
Yeah.
that exact order, but so specific. You have very specific wants and needs. They're very basic, they're very primitive. It's interesting. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
It is. It is. And I'm quite the opposite. I attune better to the female clients. And I don't market that on purpose, but I've maybe had a handful of men over the last 9 or 10 years. It,
You are very assertive. psychically to me. It was like I walked in and I was looking all around and going, my God, there's too much in here. That was the first thing I thought. There's too much stuff in here. There's too much stuff in here. I could be in here for 4 hours and I'm shaking because I can feel the anxiety I was feeling in there. It's like everything's coming at me. Stones, books, and papers, and smells, and you guys were all standing. And I remember one guy, really cute guy, good looking guy. I'm like, whoa, there you have more coming. And then you said to me, believe me, he knows what he's doing. And I'm like, I said, well, yeah, but there's some more. And then you stepped towards me and said, hi, I'm Rob. How are you today? I was like,
I got to talk to him now.
I have to talk to him now. God damn it.
Well, we all have those button pushers in our life. The one hit the start button, right?
You scared me. You scared me, literally. I was like, oh my God, that guy is so like, bam, open. No man like you I ever saw. No, no. Well, felt. You felt. I mean, you were just like a bam. You like physically almost hit me in the chest. And I'm like, I'm still on the other guy going, gee, I wouldn't mind sitting down for
Right.
talking with this guy for a minute.
All right, my dear. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's been a great
Oh
conversation.
my gosh,
I
so much
love
fun.
I love the insight, and we'll have to do some more. This is my first experience interviewing somebody else. It's all usually me talking and just me talking. So this is nice to get other insight.
I loved every second. Thank you so much.
And so what I'll do for the audience is if you are interested in working with Maria, I will push your information over to her and and if she wants to
I will
facilitate
connect.
that
Yeah.
and follow that up, we'll do that.
Yeah.
She has changed her name because she's so good at what she does. She doesn't want people following her around. So that's
Honest to God, I'm serious.
hmm
Especially when I started, I was so foolish because somebody's like, oh, I'd love to get a pet reading someday. I said, well, this is on TikTok of all places, right? Because I was already off Facebook. I already went off Facebook because it was just like, please read me, read me, read me, read me. Like, and other things. But anyway, and come to find out, one of the guys that I worked very closely with on Facebook died a couple of years ago. I just found out.
oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so that was revealing. See, I don't see everything. I didn't see that.
No,
I didn't see him
we're not
as
supposed
dead.
yeah,
You
we're not
know,
supposed to see everything.
like people will text me and say, can you tell me when I'm going to be able to get my new truck? I'm like, no, I'm not.
No, 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 no.
I'm not reading that.
Future's up to you.
You need to do the work.
Yep.
I mean, I can tell you it might be red, but that's all I got, son.
Yeah.
Anyway, where was I?
Well, like I said, I'm going to offer to the audience that if you find Maria interesting, we will,
Mm,
send me your information and I'll add that on the end of the podcast after we're done.
oh, the pet readings on TikTok.
Yeah.
I stupidly said, "Oh, I'll give it a shot. I've never done it. I kind of never done it, but pets like me. Pets do. They come right at me. They lay down, show me their belly. It's ridiculous. I should have been a vet. The people, and then I don't. I think I told you the pets themselves were showing up in my dreams and wanting to play with me and stuff. And there was one in particular. It was a huge Great Dane. He was like the silliest, most awesome, happy dog I've ever met, but he was gigantic. And he would come into my dreams and just like come right up to my face and look at me. And so I texted the woman back. I said, "Your dog," or was it a man? I don't remember. "Your dog is in my dreams. Look at me." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." Comes right up, puts his nose right in my face. He's like, "Yep, that's him."
There you
It
go.
was just the
So,
weirdest thing. I couldn't do it anymore. It was too much. They were like, it was in my dreams. It was during the day. It was like, and the people were, like blowing up my phone. I'm like, nope.
well, so very good reason for being incognito.
Yes.
on this because you're going to get the people that are you're called to work with, and it'll all work out like it's supposed to. But
Yes.
the internet's quite brutal, so we'll leave your name incognito, and we will see if we
Thank you.
any traffic on that, and I'll definitely push it over your way. It's
Okay.
been a great conversation. We'll have to do some more, maybe on some world affairs next time. Well, that was quite an interesting interview to say the least, especially for my first time around doing this by interviewing somebody else instead of me just talking. And if you do find her interesting and would really like to work with her or talk with her, you can go to my website at lifebymazak.com, lifebymazak.com. On my contact page, you'll find a phone number, an email, a WhatsApp, and there's a lot of different ways there that you can reach out to me and ask about working with Maria. Once again, that is not her real name. And at the end there, you noticed why she was trying to be more incognito. I believe she will be coming forth with her actual name as we do more podcasts. But for now, we were going to honor her request and keep her incognito. I had a wonderful time interviewing her, learned a lot of things, heard a lot of different ways of looking at things that I had not thought about. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I will likely use some of her terms and some of her ideas in my own practice. And what I have found over my years of doing this, my practice is bits and pieces of the people that I've had readings done by and the people that I've been trained by and my mentor, all these different things, all kind of rolled into this interesting aspect of a lot of different people. We can all learn from each other. I learn from you, you learn from me, I learn from her, she learns from me. It's just a wonderful aspect of life. So I will digress. I will be talking to you many more times, bringing you forth probably a lot more podcasts and interviews with this young lady. I look forward to hearing from you. Namaste, be strong, and live your life.